Hello and welcome to the Magical Learning Podcast for this week. The Magical Learning Podcast is a podcast that looks at important topics in business and life and presents them in a fun and lighthearted way, and today is absolutely no exception. I couldn't be on this podcast, so I just had to listen back just then while I was editing it. And today's podcast with Emma McQueen is one of the most high-energy, funnest podcasts I think we've done in a little bit. Emma's energy is electric. It bounces off the screen. If you want to watch it, which I would recommend, jump on our Spotify. But otherwise, enjoy this episode on empowering women in business. What a great chat. Shame I couldn't be there. I'll be there for the next one. Anyway, everybody, have a magical week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Magical Learning Podcast. You will notice that I am not Jez today. Poor old Jez is sick. So it's Danette who is hosting for today, and we have a guest, and we'll come to our guest very shortly. But let's start by going around the room and asking how everyone's week has been. And let's start with Al, who's in the warmest part of Australia for the rest of us. There you go, Al. How has your week been?
It's been fantastic in shorts and t-shirts, Danette.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been enjoying Pilates for quite some time now, and I've had 2 or 3 weeks off, and I've appreciated how good Pilates is for my body. And I made an effort to get out of bed and get back into Pilates this morning, which was fantastic.
That is awesome, Al. Great to hear. And the shorts and t-shirt. I've only got a short sleeve-ish shirt today. It's not as bad at the farm, but I know Canberra's pretty cool. Melbourne, I can see Allegra putting the hoodie on. So let's come next to Graham. Graham, how's your week been?
I've had a good week. I'm also, like Al, in shorts and a t-shirt. They just happen to be extremely long. But, clothing is clothing. I'm super excited about the fact that there's only 3 more sleeps until Monday.
Nice. Love that. And Allegra, how's your week been?
Yeah, it's been good, pretty chill. I've been working on a brand new website for Magical Learning. So keep your eyes and ears out for that one. Should be released very soon. And I've got a friend from high school, Hillary, is in Melbourne this weekend. So I've got hanging out with her to look forward to. So all in all, pretty good. The weather is a bit cold, but other than that, we're cruising.
Nice. And say hi to Hillary from us.
Will do.
And John, how's your week been?
Had a good week, Danette. Caught up with you and Graham, so that was a great start to it. That was really enjoyable. Thank you for that. My wife has gone up to Brisbane to see our daughter up there, so it's just me and my little boy batching at it for the weekend. I mean, my little boy's 22, so he's not that little, but he's still little to us. So yeah, we just had a good day yesterday, enjoying some time with him, and I'm sure we'll hang out this weekend as well.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Awesome.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be beautiful weather this weekend too, by the looks of it. So
well, it was 3 degrees this morning when I was on the push bike, so it wasn't that beautiful.
Oh, that's called bracing.
Invigorating.
Invigorating. Oh, and so we have a guest this week. Super excited for our guest, Emma McQueen. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our audience, and also, how's your week been?
Oh, thank you so much. My name is Emma McQueen. I live in sunny, not so sunny Melbourne. It's sunny for like a minute and then it pours with rain, which is what's happening today. Allegra would know that.
Ouch.
But I was up at 5:15 doing my walk before breakfast with my husband. We go for an hour. We try and do like 8,000 steps before brekkie. So that was fun. My week has been short, I think I could say. We've had curriculum days here. My daughter broke her arm last week, so she's been off. It's been short weeks, and last week we were in Tassie for, unfortunately, my husband's sister passed away, so we were in Tassie for a funeral. So it's been go. So we've been home this week, and that's been beautiful for me, nice and grounding, and bring me back to routine. And today is a good day to be grateful. I think every day is a good day to be grateful, isn't it?
Totally. And so sorry about your sister-in-law passing too. Yeah, that's not fun.
Not fun.
So tell people a little bit about you, Emma.
Ooh, what
Just
would you
in
like
case
to
they don't know you.
I know, right? I'm like an onion that needs to be peeled back layer by layer. That tells people nothing. My background is HR. I love human resources. I love difficult conversations. I'm a weird one like that. I used to be a HR director for Australia's largest not-for-profit, and I coach their executives. I sit on 3 faculties, and I have a lot of coaching experience. Some would say 20 years, but that might give away my age. I know I don't look it. And I don't take myself too seriously, as you can tell.
You're our kind of people, Emma.
Yeah.
So this week we picked the topic of empowering women in business, and I know you do a lot in this field. Did you want to add anything before we get into the questions around the topic?
No, I reckon throw me in and let's see what
Okay.
happens.
Awesome. Beautiful. Well, I'm going to start with my questions because I always have to. Because I can. I'm curious all the time. So I'll start with the first one. What should women concentrate on when they're starting out in business? Because I reckon there's going to be a few women listening here who are like, oh, I'm interested, but what do I need to do to start?
Well, first I will say that I started my business with 0 clients, 0 cash, and 0 idea. And so I have been there. That was 7 years ago. I stepped out of corporate and went, I'm just going to do this thing because I really wanted to just test my entrepreneurial strength. And I would say a plan is good. A business plan is better. I would say that understanding who you're going to service in your business is always helpful. So understanding your target market. Getting ready to network, because belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball, nothing beats it. And then making sure that you're prepared for the roller coaster ride that is business in general. And I think that we have to focus on our mindset for that, right? You've got to have a learning mindset if you want to be in business. You have to always be curious and keep learning. But I mean, I could give you a whole list, but let's start there.
And I love those because obviously we've run businesses for years as well. And so, I totally agree with them. And I really love that mindset bit. So my next question is, because I know some businesses at the moment who have started up are finding the market a little bit difficult and stuff like that. So curious about what are some tips you'd have if you personally, as a business owner or your business, are struggling at the moment? What would be some ideas from you, Emma?
That's a great question. I do a lot of clarity calls and I grill people on what's happening for them. And the number one thing that people are saying at the moment is business is tough. They are saying, I used to get a lot of referrals, but they've dried up. They're saying there's not enough, there's something wrong with my sales. And then I ask them to show me their calendar where that shows them making business development calls. And this is the response I get. It's absolute silence. And I think, well, yes, of course, we've got a problem with sales because we're not actually making any calls. We're not doing anything to generate the leads that we need for sales, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess if you're struggling in business, one of the things that I would do is 1, not panic. 2, I would see whether it's just a season, it's just a moment, or whether you need to dial up certain activities. That might be marketing activities. It might be showing up more on socials. It might be actually having a focus on lead generation, making sure that you've got a solid list. The amount of people I speak to in business who don't have a list, and it's scary. That should be the number one thing you do. Create a list, add people to it, have a downloadable of value that you give them for free, get them on the list, and then provide really valuable content. That's kind of how leads come in. So also, I think it's also mindset, right? We always have to focus on mindset. And are we listening to the right thing? Are we paying attention to the positive nuances that happen around Australia? I don't need to tell you guys, there's terrible news going on all the time. And I have to just buffer myself and put myself in a bit of a bubble in order to make sure that I keep my positivity and my vibe up, because it just leaks into everything that you do. So if you're struggling, take a step back, understand whether it's a reason, look at your data. That's where kind of financials can help. Is this just historical? Is every year at this time like this, or is there something else going on? And are your offers still relevant for the market that you had chosen in the first place? Because I think sometimes offers aren't relevant anymore because of what's actually happening in the marketplace. And also go ask customers what's happening for them. I always, if I'm struggling, how I dial my mojo up is I go out in service. What's going on for you? How can I help? Et cetera, et cetera. And I think that really makes a difference. And then you need to work out, once you've got the clarity, what is just the one thing you're going to do next to get you out of that struggle street? I don't know. I think that was a few more than one tip. But anyway.
That was brilliant. And I bet there will be people who are like, oh, yes, I haven't done that. Oh, no, I don't have a list. Oops. So that's awesome. Thank you. All right, let's go to Alan's question now. Alan, do you want to ask your question? And you can also ask Renee's if you want after yours.
Oh,
Or
thanks,
you can
Jeanette.
go completely off script and ask me anything you want, Alan. Let's do that.
Oh, that's getting scary, Emma. Emma, my question straight off the script is, what are some expected benefits of empowering women that a male-dominated business may not be aware of?
No, it's a good question, that one. All right. I think the first thing is diversity for sure. When you have women and men in a business together, the diverse perspectives can lead to way more innovative, if I can get the word out, innovative solutions and products, right? And I think also there's been a lot of research about women at top end of town tables, senior executives. There's been a lot of research done around when you don't invite women, you miss out on a little bit of emotional intelligence. Not to say blokes don't have it, but you do miss out on that nuancing that women bring. John, you're laughing at me. And I think also diversity and inclusivity. And I think, making sure that you have a inclusive culture, everyone sees that. If everyone sees that they're senior executive, there's 8 of them and they're half and half gendered, then everyone's like, oh, right, okay, we might be doing something right. And then that kind of culture sweeps down into organizations, right? The other thing is, depending on what the business is, surely they have female customers because a lot of female make buying decisions. So actually, by having more women at the table, they'll understand their customer base a whole lot more. I don't know. There's just 3 off the top of my head, but does that answer your question?
That does, Emma. Yeah, it's great points to consider there and continue our discussion at home. This conversation has been going on for a few days, and Renee came up with a question, and Renee's predominantly looked after our children growing up and now sort of moving into starting her own business. And her question is, do you think it's realistic for women to have it all, successful business and successful personal life, or do we have to compromise one to achieve the other?
Oh, I love this question, Renee. Thanks for the question. That's amazing. All right. Do I think we can have it all? Yes. Do I think we can have it all at the same time? No. I think there's seasons in life. When I first, I'll tell a quick story. When I first started my business, I had this narrative that I couldn't sell. So I had a managing director of one of my companies years ago who said to me, Emma, you're an excellent HR professional, but you're terrible at sales, right? And that stuck with me over and over. And then when I went out into my own business, I'm like, I've got this narrative that I actually can't sell. And I have to get rid of that. And I pounded the pavement for 3 months straight. And that paid off in dividends to us. And at the end of my first year, my husband sat me down and he said, babe, you've done really well, but you're working your butt off and it's not sustainable. And I couldn't tell him that he was right, but he was right. And so I had to pare it back, right? So I think there's seasons in life where we go, now's time to push hard, now's time to lean back. And I think that does depend on where you're at in your business. If you're first starting out, man, the hustle is on. And there's nothing wrong with the hustle being on. But I also think it depends what your values are. For me, I'm the main breadwinner. And so when I sat down, I said to my husband, I'm thinking about leaving this job and going and doing my own thing. The conversation was, cool, I'm so happy to support you, but we need your same salary, no pressure. So I'm like, yeah, okay, well, I'll level up for that. And so that never dropped. So I knew that my base level was what my family needed, and this is what the business needed. So I was really intent on being successful. And Danette will tell you, I'm probably one of the most disciplined people, or one of the most hardworking people in the room. And I know that. And I've got big capacity and capability to get stuff done. So I think it depends. I also think if you're starting a new business, you need to work out what the boundaries are. So for me, I was working day and night. About 2 years into my business, COVID hit. And that really hurt. But I found myself working almost 14 hours a day, servicing my clients. Some of them are going bankrupt. Some of them had to pivot. Some of them are doing amazing. Some of them are having breakdowns. Like I was working like a dog. And my husband, who's a school teacher, a woodwork school teacher, was teaching woodwork on Zoom. If you can even fathom that. Plus, we had 2 uni students and my grade 2er all at home, homeschooling in that time, right? And so it was, we sat down and went, okay, how are we going to do this? Because COVID only lasted for 7 weeks. How are we going to do this? And I said, I'm just going to have to work my butt off. And he's like, this is the season that we're in, babe. Let's just get on and do it. What I did find at the end was that I was a bit burnt out from that, but it was the season in life. And now I'm a little less focused on trying to do everything for everyone. And I'm also 7 years in, so my branding is pretty good now. And so now, so then I probably worked, I don't know, 60, 70 hours a week. Now I work school hours. I do drop off and pick up 3 days a week, and 2 days a week, my little league goes to before and after school care. And I do a couple of hours on the weekend. So I don't know how many hours, there's probably 30 hours or something, but that's 7 years in, right? So you kind of got to work out what your boundaries are at the start and what you're prepared to give and take. And Alan, your job for Renee is to support her in whatever she wants to do. Just saying. Happy wife, happy life. Just saying.
I love that, Emma, because I've noticed along the way that I can hold her back, and supporting her is some great advice.
And
Thanks, Emma.
now you know me. You can just reach out to me and I'll give you a little kick up the butt if you need it, okay?
Put me back into line.
So let's go to John next. John, do you want to explain your question? And John's wife also runs a business. So we've got lots of business, including lots of women running businesses on today's call. So
oh man, I'm going to have to send you some
perfect
books.
topic.
I'm going to have to send you some books, Danette, for
We would
everyone's
love that.
wife.
Would love that. Thanks, Emma.
No, I actually don't want to ask my question. I want to go off script a bit.
Go for it, John.
So, okay, you've been doing this now for 7 years. Have the underlying issues changed a great deal in that time? Or are they pretty much, could we go back 50 years and business would be having similar undertow of the same issues? And I get technology's moved on, so technology aside, but are the issues much of a muchness from when you started to where you are now, or have the issues evolved?
Oh, that's such an interesting question. It's got a threefold probably answer, so bear with me.
Yeah.
First of all, I do a lot of work with women and trying to help close the gender gap.
Yep.
In my 7 years, has that closed? Not really, which sucks. Women are still getting paid less. They don't have seats at the table. They're not on as many boards as blokes, et cetera, et cetera. It pains me to even say that because I want to see more improvement than that, but that's just not true. Women owning businesses, there's more side gigs. There's more of the gig economy coming up. So 50 years ago, we wouldn't have seen that. And I do think that I think COVID has helped with this. I mean, there wasn't very much good that came out of COVID, to be fair, but the silver lining was that corporate Australia went, oh, we can trust our people to work from home. Oh, it's okay if they put on a load of washing. And for those corporates who really were inflexible, all those people have left and they're starting their own businesses. So I think we're seeing a massive rise in, we want that flexibility. We know we don't have to, it's not per hour that we work anymore. We know that we're outcome focused. So I think that's really shifted. Yep. Has corporate Australia shifted with it? I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
The Australian Bureau of Statistics tells us that women small businesses in Australia, 92% of them turn over less than $100,000 a year. That's 8% of businesses that turn over more than 100,000. Our living expenses are on the rise. Our living costs are on the rise. Inflation's on the rise, like all the things. And so I would like to see that number go up. And the very reason that I went into my own business, so I work in corporate, I work with women, and I work with blokes. I make all the blokes wear pink shirts because that's my vibe. And I'm like their secret squirrel business coach, right? But all the women that I work with, I want them to do better. I think if we can put more money in the hands of more women, it means more money in the hands of the community. That's how it works. And I want to see that happen more. And I think women have more choices now. 50 years ago, they didn't have that many choice. So in some things, we've progressed enormously. In other things, it's like stayed even keel and plateaued. Did that answer your question, John?
Yeah, I guess I was more thinking fundamentally just in business, whether I know you focus on women, but have the issues for a business changed greatly? You know, so it's still about earning money. It's still about you know, shoe leather on the pavement to try and get people in. You know, you talked about those sorts of things. Are those basic things still much the same?
Yeah, I mean, business doesn't change. You can have different business model if you want it, but really business hasn't changed. I just think there's been more of them. We're getting smarter with our use of digital assets and technology and all that kind of stuff. But I think I mean, when people say to me, I can't get sales, and I ask them if they've gone networking, they like roll their eyes at me like I've got horns coming out of my head. And I'm just like, that happened 50 years ago. That's how they did business 50 years ago. That hasn't changed. The way we do it now might have changed, right?
Yep.
The blokes might go cycling, no offense. And but now they might also go to golf. Whereas the women, well, there's not much for the women actually.
Okay.
We need to create our own stuff. So some things haven't changed, but some things have. But how you still get sales, how you go into business, depending on what your purpose is, I don't think those things have changed.
Yeah. All right. No, thank you.
Nice. And Emma, just as you said that last bit of the answer, I was like, so Emma does run some stuff for women for networking. Did you just want to do a little promotion while we're here? You may as well.
Oh, why not? Well, I don't know if people have noticed, but McQueen is my last name. A lot of our branding is based on the Queen. Someone else gave it to me, so I ran with it. And now I've told my husband he can't get a divorce because it's his name. So I said, even if we divorce, I have to keep the name. Otherwise, my branding's up Shoes Creek. Anyway, we do something called Business with the Queen, which is Australia-wide. It's virtual. It's 90 minutes of non-ick networking. It's happening next Wednesday and it's happening in July. And so we've got that as well. And if you're in Melbourne, we've got something called Go Get a Day, which happens to be the name of my first book. Ooh, I haven't told you about my second book yet, but anyway. And that's for women in business to come along and just feel less lonely. They get 2 hours to get work done on their business because no one takes time to work on their business. They're always in their business. And then we do some networking and then some hot seating, which is basically sharing a problem or a challenge or an opportunity with the table and then listening to what the table has to say and taking that wisdom back and popping it in. Everyone loves those days. They're limited to 50 people, so we normally fill those. And then we've got, yes, the book. Everyone loves the book too, Jeanette. I think they love it because it's pink and it fits in a handbag, which is why I created it.
Perfect on brand.
Yeah.
I love it. So we're going to put all of those details in the description of the podcast and on our YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, perfect.
So let's go to Allegra now. Leggers, what's your question?
Leggers, hit me up with a decent one, Leggers.
Well, I figure because Jez isn't here, I might sort of, because our questions are fairly similar or related. So I figure I'll give you a sort of two-parter here. So what are some of the best ways to empower women in business, which I feel like you've definitely touched on a couple, but maybe a specific targeting that. And also Jez's question is, how can empowering women actually empower everyone in a workplace?
Oh, I love those two questions. All right. The first one I'll answer maybe in two ways, because your audience will be people who work in organizations and have leadership roles and also people who have their own businesses. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, cool. So the first one is around organizations. And so I work with a couple of corporates. In 2020, again, the year of C, I got to the end of the year, I was a bit burnt out and I was working with some corporates and they just weren't aligned with me, and they were massive corporates. And they just didn't behave the way I wanted them to behave. So I said, I'm not working with you anymore. So I only work with 3 corporates now. I'll only put a bra and shoes on for 3 corporates. Very lucky I've got a bra on today, just saying. But anyway, and basically I offer leadership development programs for those corporates. I know, Graham, it wouldn't be a nice sight, believe me. Lucky it's through the video. Anyway, So I offer leadership development programs. I think having your female leaders in a leadership development program means that you are signaling to the rest of the business that you're serious about it, that you're upskilling them to do what you need them to do, and you make them feel like they're worth paying some money for to put through a leadership development program. And it makes us all go, oh, right, okay, so there's something run here for women leaders specifically, because they do have different challenges to men. Sometimes the challenges are exactly the same. In one of my organizations, we've just developed a 1-day leadership series for feedback. It's the number one thing that I get from organizations when they need a coach. We need to help them with feedback. We had that subscribed within an hour, 25 people in a room. So we know that that's necessary. That's not gendered. Men and women both struggle to give good constructive feedback. So I think if you're in an organization, definitely leadership development programs. I think if you have your own business, you need to find networking opportunities that support what you're doing, or you need to find some mentoring or some coaching or someone who's been there and done that. I've got 2 coaches because I'm quite high maintenance. I've got a female and I've got a male, and we work on different issues. And making sure that in organizations you're offering flexibility, because having kids, man, I mean, if my husband could have had the kids, I would have been so happy. But unfortunately, I could only have the children. And then all of a sudden, all the phone calls comes to mama. Now I've got a system. I ignore the phone calls and they go to dada. But when I had the kids, I'm like, I would rather someone else have these kids. So flexibility is really important in organizations. And sometimes our male colleagues just don't quite get that because they're sitting back at home. So that was the answer to your first question. And then the second question was about empowering women and how it works for everyone in the workplace. Okay, well, how I see it, might be controversial, is it feels more equitable. And that actually means it boosts company morale. When people can see that the women are being empowered, most women will empower other women, be generous with other women. There is some research around women continually getting mentored, which doesn't necessarily mean promoted. And I think women have this really interesting thing where the work will speak for itself. No, it frickin' won't. If it spoke for itself, you'd have been, hoiked straight up to senior exec already. It doesn't speak for itself. How do you talk about the work in a way that doesn't brag and that is unique to you and authentic? Or how do you just tell people how good you are and get on with it, right? And so I think that if you can do that, then that actually helps the environment and shows other women coming through the ranks it's okay to talk about your work. So there's that. And I think we need the fellas to get involved in backing the women. So the domestic violence stats are 25% of women are victims of domestic violence, right? And the men, that's just one example, but I don't see many men voices. We have to put the voices out there. If we want flexibility for our women, if we want policies that work for our women, if we want our women to feel like they are valued and included, the guys have to show up and talk about this stuff. Because when guys don't show up and talk about it, it's out of their hands, right? So I think one of the ways of empowering women is actually the men stepping in and actually talking about the issues that bother women so much. I just realized I got on a high horse. Sorry about that rant, but thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Oh, I love that, Emma. So we've got Kanika's question now. And Kanika asks, how can we help a friend if they're struggling at a job that is not empowering them?
Yeah, okay. Well, I think you... Do you want a non-PC answer or a PC answer?
No, go non-PC.
Okay, well, look, if you're working for a dickhead, you probably need to leave. It's as simple as that, right? Because we don't leave organizations, we leave managers. And if your manager is being a knob, you have to go. So there's that, right? So actually being a friend is what's the problem? Is the problem your manager, or is the problem the organization? Normally it's the manager. If it's the manager, have you spoken to them? Have you given them feedback? Having a really great friend to listen and ask some questions, and a commonsensical friend, not one that goes, oh, that's outrageous. You should just do this and send an email to 500 people and leave. I have had clients who have done that, by the way. Anyway, I wouldn't recommend. And so I think that's we got to get to the nub of the issue, right? If there's something they can do about it, great. If there's something they can't do about it, then they have got to have other choices. So many women come to me and they just don't have a plan B. But if they have a plan B, it feels better for them. So I had one client who came to me and she's like, I'm working in a toxic environment. And really, I was like, you need to get out. I said, but can we get out in a strategic way? And can we do the things? I used to be a recruiter, so I kind of know how recruitment works. But can we do the things that are going to get you, one, a better job and more income? And she's like, yes and yes. And I worked with her for 6 months to dial that up. When it came down to it, she moved from like a BP role to a HR director role. And she rang me and she said, oh, they've offered me the job at this much money. I'm like, nah, that's not going to happen. And she's like, right, how much more do I go back with? And I told her she had to put another 150K onto the salary. And this is what happened. This was her response. Absolute silence, because she's like, I can't ask for that. I'm like, yes, you can. Here's what you can need to do. Here's your self-worth. Here's all the things, la, 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 and they're going to want your soul. Anyway, she got the job, no blink of an eye, for an extra 150K. And I'm like, oh, dang it, we went too low. So I think sometimes it's about helping them get out. Sometimes it's just having a listening ear. And sometimes it's about making them take responsibility and action for what they can actually control, because you just can't control some people necessarily.
Yes. Yep. Oh, I love that answer. And way to go, the extra 150K. That's awesome. Woohoo.
That's what happens when you work with Emma McQueen. You've been
Exactly.
Emma McQueened. There's a phrase. You've been Emma McQueened.
Oh, I love it. So we're nearly at the end of today's session, but we love to go around the room and get people's sort of insights, things they're going to take away. So I will start with Al, because you're at the top of my screen, Al. What were some of your takeaways from today?
First one is I love hanging out with you, Emma. You're so much fun. So the second one, which really stands out, is men supporting women, like me supporting Renee here in her business. And I think you said it was guys show up and talk about it. I work at a very male-dominated training facility, training people to drive cranes, dogging and rigging. Occasionally, a woman will come through. Behind the scenes, the trainers say, how great is this? But nobody actually says it out loud.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, yay. Look at you. You could be like the impetus for change.
I could. Thanks, Emma.
You're welcome. And of course, I'll kick your butt if you don't now. So, there's that.
Graham, did you want to go next?
Emma, thank you. It's been brilliant. Just some of the, I almost first cab off the rank, talking about starting a business. Your plan is good, a business plan is better. I don't know how we create like a brain tattoo for wannabe entrepreneurs, and I don't think gender really matters as much in that space. But and I also love the what you said about staying curious and just continuing to have that sort of learner's mindset, and also particularly if you're starting a business, being in it for the long haul. Yeah, because the whole entrepreneurial journey is it's sort of more down than it is up in the first few years, and if you're not committed to stay in that, then things don't go well. One question, just really randomly, that jumped out at me before when you were talking about some of the guys that you work with, that you coach, where you get them to wear pink shirts, which I think is brilliant, by the way.
Thank you.
Curious as to whether would a pair of pink corduroy shorts substitute for a pink shirt?
As well as or instead of?
Probably instead. I mean, I still have a pink shirt, so maybe as well as.
Oh yeah, as well as. Yeah. I mean, real men wear pink. So we're getting that message out into the business. But yeah, I'd be down with that. Extra
corduroy
points
shorts, awesome.
Extra points if you wore a pink cap, just saying.
Okay. I'll go and hit up I don't know, Tajay or something. I think so. Yeah. The only additional question I had was, and I semi-answered it myself anyway, was if there were one tip that you could give to particularly to women, because I agree 1,000,000%. I think the more women we have running businesses, the more women we have in senior roles in business, the better everything's going to be. That's There's no argument there. But if there were one tip that you could give somebody who is, if there's somebody out there who's thinking about starting their own business, and if we look at, say, the first 12 months of that journey, is there one tip you could give them that you think might help the most?
Get really good at sales.
Bingo. Thank you.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Leggers, you're next on my screen.
Oh, Leggers.
I just want to say thank you. This has been a really great chat, Emma, and I appreciate all of the insight that you've offered all of us, and the answers that you gave were really insightful. I really took away, I sort of also took away the have a business plan. Like, you know, a plan is good, but a business plan is better. Like, I'm also looking to do freelance stuff in the future, and I don't have a business plan, but I think that is something that I should look into.
Yes,
if
I
want
definitely
any
think
sort of
so.
success.
Yes. Yes.
So that's been a personal takeaway for me from today's chat. But no, it was lovely to have you on. Thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, thank you, Leggers.
And John.
Well, Emma, I think you're as mad as a cut snake, to be honest. That's just your personality is vibrant, which I think is fantastic. Like, I love. So, yeah, the be curious one, you know, automatically resonated with me. That Walt Whitman, that takes me back to that Ted Lasso scene, the dartboard, and it's that, you know, be curious, and I love that scene. So, and things going, you know, seasons that we're in, and I tell my kids regularly that, you know, there's for every night there's a day, for every, you know, incoming tide there's an outgoing tide. Everything's all in seasonal. So there are going to be the good times and there are going to be the hard times, and the hard times will pass and the good times will come back, you know, and it's just work within what is in front of you at the moment. So yeah, those things are, really resonated. Thank you.
I love that. I'll take the mad as a cut snake as a compliment, number one. And number
Please.
two, there's this quote, I wish I had said it, but it's like, you've survived 100% of every day.
Yep.
Like, because you get through every single, I don't know who did that quote, Jeanette might know who that quote is, but, you know, like, it's an awesome quote to kind of go, well, I've survived up until this moment, so why can't I survive another day, you know?
Yep.
But thank you. So insightful.
Yeah, and I did laugh when you were talking about intelligence and men. That's what I was laughing about earlier. I thought that's hilarious.
To be clear, emotional intelligence.
No. Let's just go intelligence.
All right then. Twist my arm.
I thought you were talking about emotional intelligence, like how aware are we of what we're doing with our bodies when we're moving? So that no,
could be.
I feel so lost.
Oh, I love it. So Emma, I was going to say the bit about the seasons as well. And John took that. And I think one of the big things, and I've definitely experienced this, and as a business owner, same as you, have coaches because we need to keep growing. So I think for people to think that they should not be trying to do it all by themselves, and that question around the whole, can women have it all? The yes and the no answer is really important, because you don't want to try and do everything and then burn out. It's how you make sure that you can navigate that, but with support, because having a coach, they can point out where you're going, oh crap, it's not looking so good. They go, you know what? It's just today. Here's some things you can do tomorrow. So and I love that you bring that to women and also men around leadership and stuff like that. So Emma, I'm curious about your takeaway from today, or your takeaways, and also where people can find you if they're looking for you, because we'd love to share that information with our listeners too.
Oh, cool. I've got two personalities. My first personality is on Instagram, and that's Emma McQueen, and that's where I show up sans makeup. And then I've got LinkedIn, which is Emma McQueen, which I show up a little bit more professional. But if you want both of those words, go for it. Funnily enough, my corporate clients also connect with me on LinkedIn, but they only comment on Instagram. It's so strange. Anyway, my insight, well, I wish you were all off mute, because we've had a lot of laughs here while I'm cacking myself. I can see you all cacking yourself. But what I love about this conversation is that everyone got involved. You're all having fun. You're not too politically correct, so we can just shimmy around. We went off script, and that hopefully like everyone's taken like a little gem that they can insert pretty easily into their life.
Yes.
And I love that. I love being able to do that.
I reckon we all just go off mute for a second. Let's do the whole laugh because it actually has been hilarious today. Come on, everyone.
It has been hilarious.
I've been laughing the whole time.
Graham's not happy. Graham's not happy. Graham's face. I can't wait to see this on YouTube.
Oh, I
Oh,
love
this won't ever be published.
Oh, this was the one before the real one, wasn't it, Graham?
Except for the bite where you admitted that your husband was right.
Oh, you bugger.
Oh,
And we
so
probably should also say, sorry, just really quickly, because it is so. Just go back to John's comment about cut snakes. Thanks, John. Triggers me every single time, so thank you for that. For all of the listeners, viewers, etc., who are madly scrambling to get the phone number of the website for the RSPCA, it's just it's a saying, not actually a thing. Just in case.
I wonder if it's a certain generational saying, though, isn't it? If I said to
Yes.
my 10-year-old, "Oh, you're as mad as a cut snake," she'd be like, "Excuse me."
Yeah, I have never heard anyone my age saying that.
Oh, my case
Uh-oh.
of points. Beautiful. Now you're showing your age, leggers.
What can I say?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun for a Friday afternoon. It's awesome. This culture is really good. Like I can see that you guys all like gel together and that the culture's lovely. And I'm not surprised because Danette gives the best hugs in real life. It's been a while since I have one of those, just saying, Danette.
Graham's pretty good too.
Oh, second, you're pretty good too, Graham. Oh, okay. Come on, bring it.
Oh, I love it. Oh, well, thank you so much, Emma. We're definitely going to get you back because this was such a fun conversation. And just to finish off, we'd like to say to everyone who's listening, we hope you have a magical week as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, good
Thank you,
job.
everyone. Jazz hands. Woo.